loans have mortgage insurance. Okay, we've got a couple of questions. Let's go to the questions and see. How much credit do you need to establish after problems? Basically, it's based on credit score. So if you've had issues, I would probably suggest to you that you would go ahead and look for ways to improve your credit. If you've got everything paid, then at that point, I would ask you probably to reestablish your credit. And you can get it reestablished by looking for a secured credit card. One of our local companies that does secured Visa is VyStar Credit Union. They will take a $500 deposit and give you a $500 line of credit without regard to what your credit score is. A lot of the other places you can reestablish credit in St. Johns County would be such as Badcock Furniture, Farmers Furniture, where you can start a repayment method and establish your credit that way. Hope I've answered your question.
We have a question saying, I'd like to ask a question of Ron regarding credit. If you'll just type the question in, we'll be able to read it and we will definitely reply to it.
Okay, while we're waiting for the question to come in, we'll go over a little bit more on the slide presentation. The next one we're going to cover is a VA loan. I'm sure out there's some veterans out there. With a VA loan, we've gotten the advantage of having veterans, and under that loan, we can do 100% financing, no mortgage insurance, and this is the only loan which you can purchase a mobile home on at 100% financing. As I mentioned earlier, the seller can pay all of your closing costs, or you can get a gift from any source. With a VA loan in St. Johns County, the maximum loan amount is $417,000. That would be a beautiful home on a large lot in St. Johns County. Okay, next program we're going to cover is a USDA loan, which is a BB&T guaranteed loan by USDA. Some of the highlights on a USDA loan: typically credit score should be 620 or higher, but no credit's okay. What they're simply saying is if you don't have any bad credit and you have such things as your rental that you're living in that I can get a verification on, or your cell phone or utilities, many items like that, anything that you pay on a monthly basis that I can get a payment history, I can use as alternative credit. No down payment required on USDA. No mortgage insurance. They do have a guarantee fee, but that 2% is added to the loan amount and it's just part of your payment. It's not limited to first-time home buyers. So somebody that doesn't have a whole lot of cash and is not a first-time buyer can still get this loan. The one thing there, it's located outside the old part of St. Augustine, so it has to be a more rural area. Some of the areas that have been well-established communities, it probably would not work for. The next one I'm going to cover is the Florida Bond Program. It looks like it's not coming up for some reason. There it comes up. Okay. Under the Florida Bond Program, the maximum sales price is $338,000. Again, that gets you a pretty nice house. This is the program with the lowest credit score available. Your middle score needs to have a minimum of 600. If you're at 599, we just need to work on a little bit, get you up to 600 so that we can get you into a home. Under the Florida Housing, it has two forms of down payment assistance available currently, Florida Assist and the HAMI program, which we'll go over both of those in a minute. The Florida Assist program allows you to pick up to $7,500 with no payments, no interest, and deferred for 30 years. Simply meaning that you can get from Florida Housing $7,500 that if you live in the house, you don't move, just stay there as your principal resident, you don't have to worry about the $7,500 till 2040. Wow, that's a long way into the future. On the right, you'll see the income limits. So a family of four could still make $65,100 and get this $7,500 to help with down payment and closing costs. The $7,500 in most first-time buyer cases is enough to cover all of your down and part of your closing cost. Any additional closing costs you might need, Michelle would write into your contract and see if we can get the seller to pay for them. The HAMI program, this one is the other down payment assistance program that Florida Housing has. $5,000 amortized over 10 years at 5% interest, which comes down to $53 a month. So if you're short cash and you need cash to close for down payment and or closing costs, get $5,000 for $53 a month. The reason for this program is the high income limits. If you notice a family of 4, you could make $91,140 in St. Johns County. I would say that probably covers at least 90% of the county that would be purchasing a home as a first-time buyer and being able to get the down payment assistance. We have questions here.
Okay, the question we have, Ron, how can we get advice regarding reading and disputing the credit reports? They are 9 pages long, but there is a telephone number where you can enter disputes. How long before that disputed item becomes visible to you as a broker trying to help me get a loan?
Usually, if you're disputing items, if you're one of my credit reports, you're going to have the 3 credit bureaus on there. I will have a phone number for any creditor that you want to dispute. I would say in most cases, it's going to take you at least 30 to 60 days to get it straightened out, and it will show on your credit report. We have what we call a rapid rescore, which we can do to bring up your credit score. If it's just a few points, say you're a 597 middle score, we know you need to be at 600, and you've paid off these items, but they're not showing as corrected on your credit report. I would need information showing that they have been paid, and then I could go for a rapid rescore. If you're doing it all on your own, I would say it's going to take you probably 60 to 180 days, 2 to 6 months to get the credit bureaus to bring them up to date if you're doing it on your own. If you're doing it in conjunction with a home loan, hopefully we can be a little bit faster. The credit bureaus are not the fastest in town, but they will respond. They're required by law to respond. If you want a copy of your credit report, annualcreditreport.com was set up to be able to access all 3 credit bureaus free once a year. So if you go to annualcreditreport.com, you can get a copy of each of the 3 credit reports, and you can review each of them. They may be different. I review mine once a year. I pull it up and look at all the creditors and make sure they're accurate in there and there hasn't been any additional information. At one point, my credit report said I lived in Anchorage, Alaska, and the only time I've been to Anchorage was on a cruise ship. Not quite sure how that address went in there, but those are the kinds of things that you'll want to correct.
Okay, Ron, great information today. I appreciate that. I always like working with you. You're really knowledgeable about the topics, and you always put the first-time buyers right at ease. So I think that was great. Thank you all for the questions as well. So now you are the buyer, and we're going to go back and look at it as we're walking through an actual process here. We found out your price parameters. Ron gave you a high-end limit, and hopefully you're not going to go all the way to that limit. Now the fun part begins. We get to start looking for your new home. So I'm going to start by sending you email links to homes in the area that meet your requirements, neighborhood you're looking for, amount of bedrooms, all that kind of fun stuff. And we will narrow it down via the email, so we don't have to go and look at every single house in the county to find the right one for you. This really helps get rid of the ones that you just have no interest in without having to go look at them in person. After we get it down to a sizable amount, we'll go out physically and look at these houses individually. And hopefully within a reasonable amount of time, we will find a house that is perfect for you. It's a very exciting moment, and it's always a joy. So now what do we do? Well, I'm your agent at this point. I'm going to help you get the best deal on the house that you want that we possibly can do. So I'm going to recommend to you, when you make an offer on the home, that you ask for all the things that you'd really like to have ideally in that very first offer. It's usually the last chance that you have to get everything that you possibly could want. You may not get it all, but you may. You never know. So we're going to write an offer asking for usually closing costs to be paid. For most first-time buyers, the money that you have to put down is a big issue. So we're going to ask the seller to pay those closing costs for us. That's a pretty big deal. It's 3 to 3.5% of the purchase price. So it can make or break the deal. So we're going to ask for that. We're going to ask for a reasonable price that we think that the seller will accept. And any repairs that we think need to be done or anything like that, we're going to ask for now. We're going to write an offer. We're going to have our pre-approval, our pre-qualification letter to send in with that offer. And we're going to have to make a small binder. Typically on a house and the price that first-time buyers are looking for, you're going to be able to do about a $500 binder. Even if you have been approved for a loan with no money down, you're going to need to make a binder, although in many cases we can get that back for you at the table, but it will definitely go towards closing costs if you don't get it back. So we'll try to negotiate that down as low as possible for you. So you have a binder. You have other things to consider as costs, but I'll be going over with that with you in a moment. So let's say that we have made an offer. We put our binder down. We brought our our pre-qualification letter from the lender. We have new terms this year, sorry. And we're ready to go. The offer's been accepted, and we're very happy. Now we have usually 30 to 60 days to get the thing closed, depending on what we asked and what the seller agreed to. In that time frame, we have to make sure that your financing is secured. We have to get the home inspected. This is for your benefit. You're going to be paying for it. It's one of the things that you have to be prepared to pay for. Usually you do have about $1,000 or so of expenses outside of closing costs, outside of down payment. And there are these. Your inspector is going to come in, go over the home with a fine-tooth comb, see if there's anything wrong with it. If he finds anything that is just outrageously wrong, that we can't get fixed, that you don't want to take on, or that the seller is unwilling to fix before closing, then you do have the right to say, well, this just isn't the house for me, and we start over. You're not bound to the house. On the other hand, if the inspections come in with just 1 or 2 problems, we usually can get the seller to fix it, or we can get a price reduction to cover the fact that we're going to have to fix it ourselves. So there's many, many ways to make these things work out if we do find something. I particularly like to use an inspector here in town who supplies a home warranty. This is a great thing because it will get you through the 90 days of the closing process and also the first couple months in the home. Should something break, most of those things will be covered under that warranty. So it's a wonderful thing to have. If you use an inspector that doesn't supply it, you can consider purchasing it on your own, or maybe your agent will consider buying it, or your seller. So let's say your inspections have come through fine and you're fine with the quality of the home. Your financing looks like it's in pretty good shape. We'll usually need a survey to show that your home isn't encroaching on the neighbor's home, and that this will determine whether or not you need flood insurance as well. You'll have to go and speak to several different insurance agencies to find the right insurance for you. I'm going to ask Ron to step in and talk a little bit about insurance because it's really the bank that works with you on insurance. So Ron, go ahead with that.
When you're looking